Controlling Hadoop jobs using Oozie. Lesson 2, the Oozie Coordinator. We have looked already at Oozie workflows. Another important component is the Oozie Coordinator. The Oozie Coordinator supports the automated starting of Oozie workflow processes. It's typically used for the design and execution of recurring invocations of workflow processes triggered by time or data availability. The coordinator enables you to specify the conditions that trigger workflow job execution. These conditions can describe data availability, time, or external events that must be satisfied to initiate a job. The coordinator also enables you to define dependencies between workflow jobs that run regularly, including those that run at different time intervals, by defining outputs of multiple subsequent runs of a workflow as the input to the next workflow. After completing this topic, you should be able to explain the use for the Oozie Coordinator. List some of the coordinator components and describe how to submit a workflow job and a coordinator job. The Oozie Coordinator system allows for both recurring and dependent workflow jobs. The Oozie Coordinator can define triggers that invoke workflows based upon regular time intervals, data availability, or an external event. This coordination is stored in a file called coordinator.xml. This illustration shows the major Oozie components, including definitions and status information stored in XML files on disk, and the invoking of Oozie from the Oozie command line interface. In this lesson we are focusing on the Oozie Coordinator, and we can note the various triggers. Time condition monitoring. Has a particular point in time been reached? Time is specified as a timestamp with time zone. Data condition monitoring. Has a file arrived in a specific HDFS directory? Externally, the Oozie CLI interface or an application call to the API from, for example, the Big Insights console can trigger the start of an Oozie job. Jobs execute as workflows with actions such as MapReduce running in the Hadoop ecosystem. The coordinator can invoke workflows based upon a time interval, for example once every 15 minutes, or based upon the availability of specific data. It might also be necessary to connect workflow jobs that run regularly but at different time intervals. For example, you might want the output of the last 4 jobs that run every 15 minutes to be the input to a job that runs once every hour. A single workflow can invoke a single task or multiple tasks, either in sequence or based upon some control logic. The Oozie Coordinator has its own set of expression language constants and functions. These deal mostly with date and time. The time with which the Oozie Coordinator works is Coordinated Universal Time, UTC, formerly known as Greenwich Mean Time. Time zones are expressed as offsets plus or minus from Zulu, or by time zone identifiers such as America/Los Angeles. Complications arise out of changes to daylight savings time. That means not all days have the same number of hours, and months not having the same number of days, made even worse by leap years. Expression language constants for $year and $month allow the XML templates to access these values. Synchronous data sets are produced at regular intervals. These are identified by the creation time as part of the URL, or URI. The synchronous dataset definitions contain information such as dataset name, frequency of creation in minutes, date time, etc. The Coordinator app XML file has start, end, time zone, frequency of the run, which data sets need to be processed, for example the last 4 created, and workflows that need to be invoked. The Coordinator job uses 3 files: coordinator.xml, a definition file; coord-config-default.xml, an optional base definition file with standard defaults; and coordinator.properties, similar to the job properties file used with a workflow. This last file has a property that specifies the location of the coordinator.xml file. It can also have any variables referenced later in the workflow. Any variables referenced by workflows invoked by the coordinator still have to have valid values. However, those values must be specified in the coordinator.properties file instead of the job.properties file. The coordinator.properties file contains the information needed by Oozie to find the coordinator job. In addition to that, it associates values to variables referenced in both the coordinator.xml file and any referenced workflow.xml files. When you actually execute an Oozie coordinator and the associated Oozie workflows, you have the option of setting the export variable Oozie_URI as an environmental variable to provide the location of the Oozie code. This simplifies the execution. With this environment variable set, you run the job as Oozie space job space -run space -config, followed by the full address of the coordinator.properties file. You have now completed this topic and are ready for the corresponding exercise.